Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome back to the It's Attainable Real Estate Investing Show. It is episode number 25. 25 shows. That's kind of a milestone in anything, right? I hope that these 24 shows have been enlightening, educational, and just helpful to you. And let's use episode 25 to keep that going and reset just a little bit. With all the talk about investing, whether real estate, stocks, or something else, why would you invest in anything or at all? Is there really a need to? I save. Isn't that enough?
Welcome to the It's Attainable Real Estate Investing Show, where you will learn about investing, the power of real estate investing, and how to invest in it. Whether you have the time or even if you don't, you're going to see it's attainable either way. And now your host, who always wants to share knowledge with you, Christopher Balcom.
To grow your wealth. That's why. Why would you invest? To grow your wealth. Now, sometimes wealth can be thought of as a bad thing, or there's a certain stigma about those who may be considered wealthy. Let's not make wealth be viewed as negative. It comes down to your why, and something else that I'll get into in just a moment. But firstly, why would you want to grow your wealth? What's the why? Could it be to live with more financial stability, being prepared for surprise expenses, going from survival mode when it comes to money, having just enough for what you and your family might require, to being comfortable, being prepared for those surprise expenses that might arise? Maybe a home expense like a furnace or air conditioning unit or a car expense. It seems like car expenses are always a surprise, aren't they? Having money for your children's college education maybe. Speaking of children, what about generational wealth? What does that mean? Generational wealth are assets passed down from one generation to the next. So it's not just for you, but it's for your children, your grandkids, their grandkids, and so on, all the way down the generations. What about beyond your family and your children? What about growing your wealth to do more for others? Perhaps contributing to charity or contributing more to charity. And of course, and then there's retirement. Growing your wealth so you have more for retirement or have enough for retirement. These are all pretty good things, right? And positive things too. See nothing wrong with being wealthy. You can grow your wealth to do good with it. That's actually our vision statement, by the way. Growing wealth to do good with it. I want you to think about your why, and I'll be transparent and share mine. So what's my why? Why do I want to grow wealth? I want to do more for others, spend more time with others, like family and extended family. I would like to grow wealth so I have more free time to do for others. Community, family, church, those who have fallen on unfortunate times. It hurts me so much every time I see a person that is homeless on the street. So I would like to grow wealth to take all the homeless in my community off the street, provide education if needed, and a pathway to employment, and get them back integrated into the community to become normal citizens like you and I. Or better than you and I. That is my why. Now, what are some ways to grow such wealth? The Webster Dictionary defines wealth as abundance of valuable material possessions or resources. Notice the words abundance of valuable, keyword valuable resources or possessions. Let's focus more on the valuable resources part than the valuable materials part. Because valuable materials, at least some of them, they can decrease in value over time, like cars, for example. And we're not talking about things that decrease in value. There are some things that rise in value over time, and we're going to get to that. But anyhow, focusing on valuable resources. So there are only two ways to grow your valuable resources, or what I'll call financial resources or money. You either bring more in, known as your income, or you send less out, known as your spending on expenses. That's it. Employment is a way that many bring money in. You work hard, you do a good job, and the employer continues to pay you a wage or a salary in exchange. Time for money. As time goes by, we hope that as we work harder, do a better job, we get rewarded with an increased wage or salary. And that happens most times, right? Or at least sometimes. Perhaps annually, we look forward to a wage or salary increase, or at least you did if you hadn't gotten to a place that I spoke about earlier, which is maybe financial stability. We need, or maybe needed, an annual increase, perhaps for many reasons, but one reason is because your expenses always seem to rise, right? I'm not talking about new expenses like again cars or new phones or gadgets or new whatever, but even old expenses rise, like food, utilities, subscriptions, TV, recurring bills. That is called inflation. Inflation is the rising cost of everyday goods and services. So because of inflation, it's known that items are going to increase in cost year over year, usually about 2% during normal economic times, so when the economy is going okay. With that, you need to keep your income or your dollars you have saved or invested minimally on par with inflation. So you need to stay at least 2%. Why? Because your expenses will rise 2% each year. So what does that? What gives you that increase in your income or your dollars that you have saved or invested? Yes, if you're an employee, we talked about that, your employer could give you a raise. Does savings do it? Maybe. It would do it if you were getting an increase on your savings provided each year by at least 2%. But the problem is that savings accounts don't give you 2% or anywhere near it nowadays. Let me explain and give you a couple examples. Now, a savings account, typical savings account, will give you, I did the research, about 0.10%. Now, there's something called a high yield savings account, and that'll give you about 0.4 to 0.5%. It was more, but as the economy has drifted downward in some ways, so have the savings account rates. All right, so what about these examples? This will allow you to see what's really happening in a savings account. Let's say you put $1,000 into a savings account, and a typical savings account rate at your bank, 0.10%, not 1%, 0.10%, so a tenth of a percent. If you left that $1,000 there a year and came back, you would get ready for this, $1. So you'd have $1,001. Now we're going to ramp up really quick from $1,000 to $50,000 just to show what happens when you add more money to a poor investment or a savings account that has a poor interest rate or return. So you put $50,000 in to this savings account. You come back in 1 year. Guess what? You've got $50 to show for. So $50 more dollars based on your typical savings rate at your local bank. Again, 0.10%, tenth of a percent. So $1,000 in, $1 back. $50,000 in, $50 back. Now contrast this with getting $80 back on your $1,000 in an investment like real estate or maybe some other things. Now, real estate could pay you, I'll say conservatively, 7 or 8%. Maybe a little less, maybe a little more, sometimes a lot more, but just being conservative here. Not trying to guarantee anything, but just being conservative. So 7 or 8% compared to that 1/10 of a percent from your savings account. So you put $1,000 in, instead of getting $1 back, you get $80 back. What about that $50,000 in your savings account or other poor investment that's not giving you a good return? $4,000 is what you would come back to after a year. $50,000 in, instead of $50, you come back to $4,000. That's a 8% return on your investment. Now multiply that by, let's say, 5 years. Would you rather leave $50,000 and come back to $70,000 or come back to $50,250? That's a gain of $20,000 or a gain of $250. I asked the question earlier, is saving enough? From these numbers, it looks like you could be doing better. Now, if it's working for you, continue to do it. But if you want better for you and your family and perhaps generations after you, you now know that there is another option. So, how do you get the 7 or 8% increase instead of the 0.1% or 0.1% increase? Or instead of just the 2% increase that is on par with inflation, which means that you essentially may not have gotten any type of increase or gain or raise. If your expenses increase 2% each year and you get a 2% increase on your savings account or your income of whatever that is, whether it's an employer or wherever your income might come from, that is a wash. You get 2% gain or a raise or increase, and then your expenses increase 2%. That means that nothing was gained. This is the reason why many struggle to catch up or struggle to get ahead, let alone get to financial stability. So how do you get this higher increase, this larger gain? That's where investing comes in. I once said that savings is a place to store your money, and there is a place for saving, as long as you don't have the expectation that that is what's going to grow your wealth. Because storing means you put it up, and when you come back, it will be there just like you left it. No decrease, and unfortunately, not much increase either, as you saw from the examples that I shared. However, if you want to take the next step and grow your wealth, then investing is it. Now, I invest in real estate, so when you listen or watch this show, I'm going to tell you all you need to know about real estate investing, including how, but first why. We will talk about why real estate is an investment, and then how. As we continue in this series of shows, know that real estate investing does not mean you have to be a landlord. There are ways to invest in real estate without ever seeing a tenant, turning a wrench, knocking on doors for rent, some of the common myths that you hear. You are getting and going to get information, education right from the source. I do this. I'm your guy. We do this. It's Attainable from Neely Realty is your place. So stick around. Subscribe to the show from your favorite podcast app if you have one, so you don't miss an episode from us and other investors in the industry that also do this who will appear as guests on the show. You're in the right place to learn a lot going forward. If this show was helpful, please let me know. Or even if it wasn't, let me know that too, so I can touch on whatever points that you might be missing. For these comments or any questions, you can reach me at neelyrealty.com/engage. That's NILEE realty.com/engage. Lastly, if you think this education will be helpful to someone else you might know, share it with them, and I'll see them and you back here next time.
You have been listening to the It's Attainable Real Estate Investing Show, sharing transparent knowledge on investing and the powerful impact real estate investing can have on your wealth and lifestyle. Follow or subscribe to the show using your favorite podcast app so you'll know firsthand when a new show is released, or visit neelyrealty.com/podcast and see the show there. That's NILEE realty.com/podcast.